Well, some of the concerns were the rate at which the water was draining. Well, when you get 6 inches of rain in a 3.5 hour span, it's going to take a lot longer to drain than it does for a regular rain event. It revealed that the pipes were not clogged. If the pipes in the city's stormwater conveyance system were clogged, we would have gotten a lot of calls about standing water after the event in non-flooded areas, and we did not get any.
Probably the most significant damage was in places where there was actually rapidly flowing high volumes of water that actually disrupted root zones or mulch beds or tore things right out of the ground. Fortunately, that was in a limited number of locations, and it was a lot of more native locations where those plants may have not been planted by anyone on purpose anyway, so the damage to them was not as bad as if it would have been more formally planted areas that were affected. And in general, those were not impacted as much because they just saw rising water levels and then receding water levels. A few days later, they didn't see the high flows that some of the more natural areas did. The longer-term drowning-like effects would be from the loss of gas exchange in the root zones, and most of the areas that flooded have a sand and gravel subbase, so the water rose and then it went back down fairly quickly, and so there wasn't a prolonged period of having that gas exchange disrupted. So I think the plant health is, for the most part, going to be not that much of a reaction one way or the other to it. A number of built features were probably worse casualties than our plants. Plants are very resilient, but floodwaters are very powerful. When you see a number of 8 foot by 8 foot by 6 inch thick sections of trail just lifted and floated and moved around, that makes you aware of how much actual force was exerted by that flowing water. And fairly adjacent to those, you could see trees that were able to withstand those floods. So that kind of illustrates the resilience of nature versus some of our man-made items, just like the retaining wall that is just down the line from here that been there since the 30s, but a big chunk of it failed during this event because of the incredible volume of water and the force that applies.
Well, I would say yes, I'm satisfied with the way the system is working. I was out in the field the last few weeks after the storm to look into pipes with a pole camera to verify they're not clogged, to verify the status is, that they're still draining. And the places, like I mentioned earlier, they had a slower drainage because of the volume of water. If it was a regular event, you wouldn't have noticed it. But because 6 inches of rain happened in a 3.5 hour period of time, that's I've been told it's equivalent to a 500-year flood. Yeah, I'm satisfied with our stormwater system.